just don't care. 'Cause living life just isn't fair. I found out long ago, life goes on like a great big show. Tomorrow we'll be here to lead us through the fear. Joy and pain will bring a tear. 'Cause I've been everywhere. I've done everything to know you've got to dance and sing for all my life. I've learned to go right through the wall, to rise before you fall. Before my curtain call, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Oh, 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 I'm gonna do it. Yes, I am. You better watch out, 'cause I'm gonna do it. Yes, I am.
It's two pieces of fabric with some weights on them. So, you know, how complicated can that be?
So traditionally, the way that this art form has been passed on is for the asking of the gift. When I went up to that flag dancer in Provincetown and I said, could you please show me how you do that? And he took the time to stop and show me how to hold the flag and show me how to do that first movement. That's the giving back of the gift, the offering of the gift. And traditionally, that's how it's passed down. The person that showed me how to do those flags would, if he continues that process, be my flag daddy. And then I would be passing it on to the next person. I would become their flag daddy, and he might be considered their flag granddaddy.
It's a combination of response to the music in the moment without the edited thought process, and using the flags to interpret the emotion that is brought about. And that I think the flags actually can be used to visually convey the heart or soul of the music.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
I'll never forget one time I was at the Roxy flagging. It was during a roller skating night, and a woman came up and said, I don't want to offend you, but you know, I really didn't expect that from you because I have tattoos, some muscles. And she said, and then you pull out these flags and you're just so beautiful. And I said, well, thank you. Why would I be offended by that? She says, well, I didn't want to assume anything. And I just started laughing. It was those type of experiences.
It was a flow class. He came up to me and he was like, Mykel, do you want to do a number for, you know, Dance 208? I was like, sure. So I was kind of, at that time, just kind of burning out with the flags. And David likes to fan too. So he had some fans there. And I'm like, how much time do we have to put this together? And he's like, oh, you know, maybe 3 weeks. Let's just do something that's, you know, good versus evil, and the temptations that still get in the way, even though you know it's a bad thing. So David was like, cool, and I took on white, the good, and he took on red, black, and showed off his tattoos, which were great, as bad.
In New York, I had a great group of friends that I could just call up and say, hey, let's go to Times Square and flag out on the island there. Or let's go to Washington Square Park or the pier, or just out on the street corner somewhere. New York offers a lot of opportunities, and you're met there with some reactions sometimes. Sometimes people just pass you by without ever even glancing over. Like, oh, it's normal to see flaggers on the corner. And other times you draw a crowd. Then you've got the inebriated people that just kind of come up and, oh, pretty colors, as you're flagging. And they come and they just approach you and you end up hitting them with a flag. Then you have people that come over and just try to grab them, sometimes right out of your hand, but usually out of the bag without even asking. Since I failed miserably at making my first set of flags, I had decided that once I started buying flags, that I would give to needy flaggers everywhere. So whenever I traveled around the country, if anyone expressed an interest, and a genuine interest, more than just, oh, let me try it a couple of times, boom, and they're done. If they stuck around for the evening and really wanted to learn, I just left them with a pair of flags.
Flaggers in the beginning looked like the Marlboro Man, had a handlebar mustache, and you had a plaid shirt that was open and maybe hair on your chest. You had dungarees, and in the back of your pocket you had a colored hanky. You had to know your codes, but or you'd be in trouble if you go home with the wrong person. As the flagging became a little bit more cultured, the queens got involved. They brought fans instead of flags, and they were doing the whole little diva trip, you know, with the fanning their faces and moving the fans around and stuff like that. So there were two kinds of flag dancers. There were the more preppy looking kind of guys, and then there were what we called the pigs, the guys that, you know, had a hole in their crotch and you could see their butt, or you could see their balls hanging out, but, you know, it's your sexual expression, but yet you were flagging. They were both ladies. The first recollection I have of flagging was at the Anvil Bar in New York. It's about 1978. It was one of the popular places that opened up at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and went until noon. It was in the middle of the meatpacking district. Very tiny space. I had wood chips on the floor and a high stage. There were performers like Uber, the fire-eating drag queen, who was bald and would spit fire across the room. But there were these guys that would come along and pull out their little hankies at the back of their pockets. And that was maybe the beginning of flagging. They would take their handkerchiefs and kind of spin them around and dance to the music with their handkerchiefs floating all over the place. So that's the earliest recollection I have of flagging. It wasn't the formal flags with the large pieces of fabric. In those days, you spent 4 or 5 hours on the dance floor. So in addition to flagging, it was a whole environment, a whole an atmosphere. It was a whole thing that you became part of. So people brought tambourines, they brought cowbells, they brought go-go bells, bongos, finger cymbals. Of course, if there were boxes or places for people to stand on stages, the flag dancers, the fanners, would automatically become mini stars, mini you know, personalities in the room, and they would get up on the bars, and they would get up on the stages and become performers. And these things became performances. takes a lot of balls to do that.
Wherever you may go, I will follow. Whenever you may dream, I'll dream. Wherever you may go, I'll be with you. Whenever you may pray for me. Wherever you may go.
If you went to Saturday night at the Saint, there would be a good DJ, but you didn't go for the DJ. You went for the atmosphere. You went for the people. You went for the freaks. You went for the craziness and the drugs and the fantasy. Some of the DJs I remember from back in that era are Jim Burgess at the Saint, Lance Weiss was at the Anvil, Robbie Leslie, Jack Carroll. I can't remember some of the other ones because it wasn't such a critical thing as it is today, where you go to a venue just to hear a DJ. You know, it doesn't matter what the venue is, you'll go there. In the old days, you went to the venue, not to the DJ. You checked your ego at the door, you checked your problems at the door. You came in, and for $3 or $5, you could dance all night and have this. You were taken away to another place.
Never, never sing the blues. I've been everywhere. I've done just to know you've got to dance all my life. Well, to go right to the wall, to rise before you fall, before my curtain call. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
There were bars like Asterix, and beneath it there was a sex club called Alex in Wonderland. There was 12 West, which was a big club on the West Side Highway in New York. It was a giant warehouse with banquettes around the side and a dance floor. Of course, there were the big luxury places like Studio 54, where there were flag dancers, but they didn't stay in those kind of places. Flag dancers were more at the Saint, Flamingo, which was a big flagging place.
I'll do it all in the name of love. Do it all in the name of love. In the name of love. In the name of love. I'll do it.
It was about 1979 that I saw flagging for the first time at 12 West, and remember being struck by how beautiful it was and utterly mystified as to what it was, actually. One comment I've gotten again and again is that it looks like angels. That when you're doing both of your arms up and overhead, you know, with these backward motions and the flags are extended out fully, they look like wings. There's a acceptance and a generosity of spirit and a welcoming that I felt instantly in being around other flaggers and fanners, and that is a lovely feeling, because as somebody who, for as long as I've been in New York, I never felt particularly a part of any tribe, so to speak. And it was such a surprise that the flagging, when it showed up in my life, gave me that sense of identity. I know I've gotten smarter since I've been flagging, and I know that sounds a little gratuitous, but the thing that it did for me was it brought together the right and left side of my body. Like, I always wanted to play the piano, and I never could do the rhythm on the left hand and the melody on the, it just defeated me completely. And when I had my kind of breakthrough moment in learning to flag, it was when I learned how to unite the left and the right, but also have them doing different things at different rhythms. It's a combination of response to the music in the moment without the edited thought process, and using the flags to interpret the emotion that is brought about, and that I think the flags actually can be used to visually convey the heart or soul of the music. And in that way, it's another form of interpretation that can be used as an art form. I mean, I've flagged to Beethoven's piano concerto, and it was completely appropriate. I've flagged out on the beach in Provincetown to just the sound of the surf and the wind, and it doesn't have to be to a disco beat. It can be to any form of music or sound.
We go out and spend time discovering who we are within a movement. That's beautiful. That's why I got into dance therapy. Flagging is what got me into dance therapy, because I was at a point in my life where I had experienced a feeling with flagging and I couldn't put words to it. And it was a feeling that was so strong, and it was a belief that there was something inside of me that was greater than anything I had ever experienced before.
I'm Mykel.
I just don't get it.
The art of flag dancing, beyond just dancing, it does take me into a different space where I can communicate whatever it is I'm feeling, anger, frustration, in the movement of the flag. I may find that I will go to a different color because I have that mood or that feeling currently. You know, if I'm angry, I may pick up a pair of red flame flags and like do something that George is guiding me through in terms of getting in touch of my inner self.
I moved to New York in 1997, and I discovered a very specific community around flagging and some people who were very connected. And that was new to me, and that was very unique. Flagging in California was very different. I took a look at him and thought, wow, what is he doing? And as a dancer, which is my background, I loved movement. He stopped, I asked him, I said, you know, what are you doing and what's your name and can I have your phone number? And, and basically, what you see on the East Coast is you see a lot of patchwork or fabric flags that are created from different pieces of fabric as opposed to tie-dyeing. In Texas, there's a huge flag community, and a lot of their work is done with tie-dyeing. They've been heavily influenced by San Francisco and the tie-dyeing that has been done there. This guy up on the box flagging, and there was no language to transfer that to me. I wanted to take that and really digest it and share it in a way that was clear, and this is the business side, and concise, and in a way where other people could take it and learn from it. One of the first moves that people do when they pick up flags is they do down. And it's a figure-8 motion, and it's basically flat on both sides of you. Those are all one-handed moves. We have flat to the side, flat in front, flat overhead. Then we have two-handed moves that basically are the same planes with using two hands and using a syncopated rhythm. Finding your own movement, finding your own beauty in what you do. And what is your style?
Usually, I could be a very shy person, and I'm definitely not an exhibitionist in all situations. But I've noticed when I started flagging, then while I'm doing it, I'm in a zone, and I just don't care. My full attention is focused on the flags. So it's not about me, it's about the flags, and maybe that's why it doesn't really matter. I'm shameless, I can do anything, I can express myself more completely than with any other art form. One thing that's really gives this 4 moves the whole new dimension is when you involve your entire body, and I love to dance like that. It's so unique because it's also very artistic, and on one hand it allows for great self-expression, whatever mood it may be, and whatever kind of day I had, it all comes out through flagging. On the other hand, it also serves as entertainment for other people because I do a lot of stuff at parties, and it happens a lot that people come afterwards and say, well, thank you, you contributed to my experience. Flags have their own personality. I want to introduce my set of flags that I made, and I made the colored tie-dyed fabric, and they're very dear to me because they're very intimately connected, and I feel they're very close to my heart. They feel very feminine to me. They're made of silk, and they feel very sensuous because of that. And they move in the same way. So that makes them very, very nice to the touch and very graceful when they move. And when I feel particularly powerful and feisty, I have these fire flags. And these have entirely different mood to them. So they're very strong, and they're like liquid fire when I work with them, and they are for those times when I really want to express something intense, and they're very powerful. People are very enthusiastic and excited when they see somebody flagging, when they see me flagging in the park somewhere. They come over and ask, what are these things called? What are they? And inevitably, next question, where can I learn to do it? So people gravitate towards it, it attracts people, and a lot of those people became friends, really good friends. My role shaped out to be that I spread the word, and I'm like this, I'm on a mission to get people involved and to show them how wonderful it is, and take it outside of our little, small, tight-knit group into the world at wide. And particularly, there are not a lot of women who flag, and I really want more women to get involved and just them to get a taste for it, to see how fun it is, and I want to share it with them. So that's my hope for the future.
born in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro. I came here to work. I'm advertisement school back in Brazil. So I received this invitation to come here and work as an intern in a magazine during the summer. So I came here to spend a couple of months here working, and that's why I came here for the first time. Here, gay people are everywhere, and it's much easier because you can walk around the streets with your boyfriend and you can kiss him and people just don't care. I had one experience once that one of my closest friends in school, I told him I was gay, and I guess he told his parents or something, and his mom told him that she doesn't want him walking around with me anymore and hanging out with me. The first Brazilian flagger, he came here, he saw flagging here, and then he took the first flags to Brazil. So we all came from the same place. Thanks to flagging, I have lots of flagger friends here in New York, and it's a good beginning. We don't have many options in Brazil. It's kind of, you don't have flag-friendly places or lots of flaggers that you can hang out with. I always been around people that use drugs, and I tried some of them. I feel that I just don't need them. You know, I like the way I feel without the drugs. I like the way I feel dancing in the clubs, just drinking water, you know. So I don't feel like I need to take drugs to have fun or to have a good time. Now I have nice friends. Now I have good memories. It's almost like another family.
It's definitely played an important role in my life. And I know at first people aren't going to realize that because they just think that it's just like a toy, you play with it and it makes you happy, and something that's just in a club scene that you do just for fun. It's been a great gift as a mother to see that my child is taking after something that I feel so strongly about.
My name is Raik. I'm 12 years old. I've been flagging for about 2 years, since I was 10. I just picked up a pair of our flags and I just started trying it. I'm told that's difficult, but I found no problem with it, really. Yeah, it's fun flagging with my mom, because a lot of her friends flag, so it gives me a chance to see their styles. It all revolves around a figure 8, but yet it seems so much more than that. I like them heavier, so then it's more wind resistant and you can do more with them, I guess. So you pretty much have more control over them when they're a little bit heavier.
How do you feel about your mom's sexuality? Do you have open discussions about that?
Yeah, I guess it's fine with me, because I can't change her. Was it? Pretty much all her friends are, and it's fine with me. They all pretty much act the same. They're funny. A lot of them flags, so you can talk about that the whole time. My mom has a little nickname from her friends.
What's that?
The Angry Lesbian. Because the way she flags. So we'll joke about that sometimes, because she usually flags fast and sometimes uses my CD player and listens to her own music, and then she's like in her own little world. I'll have to stop her sometimes and actually grab one of the flags just to stop her, because she loves it so much.
Not everybody could be meeting a flagger in a club. So by offering a workshop in a studio, this at the time was actually quite controversial with some of the people in the community, because they thought we were making it too mainstream or almost too available for people. Likewise, you were supposed to always make your own flags. And I actually made my first set of flags. I hand sewed them. I mean, not with a sewing machine, with a needle and thread. It took me hours. And of course, I'm such a Virgo, I had to do every little seam and every little thing. It had to be just perfect, because these were my first set of flags. And they do mean a lot more. I do agree that everybody should at least experience making their own set of flags once. If you're performing in front of a dance floor and you're connecting to the music, and then people see that you're connected to the music, what you do in a sense then is you galvanize the energy on the dance floor, which is really what, in the tribal sense, what flagging is all about. You are the shaman at that moment, and you are helping the tribe to centralize and synchronize their energy so that it all connects to the music. And then what you get is a very powerful tribal experience. And of course, that's incredibly empowering, because you're connecting to the energy of everybody else that's there. It's an amazing feeling.
I arrived in San Francisco in 1998, and fanning and flagging was already here. I met Dino at a flagging in the park, and he was the only person with tie-dye flags. He won me over with him, my heart and my desire for flags, all on the same day. The first set of flags that were the inspiration for tie-dyeing for my tie-dye master and I were from New York. People get into flagging and they start focusing on what it is that they're doing. They start focusing on the movement. They start focusing on how to move. And then it becomes from a focus on how to move to a focus on how to move with the music. They're in the moment with the music, trying to create with the music at the same time. And in doing so, there's a point where you let go. You become the music, and instead of thinking about it, you're just simply doing it. And that's an act of meditation. And people that pick up flags, that get bit with a flagging bug, that are flagging and massaging their energy field several times a day for hours on end, the energy in their life changes. It starts to flow differently. Don't know how to explain it other than that, but I do tell people, when you pick up flags, if you do it and you get bit, the energy in your life is going to change. That's one of the things that bonds flaggers. They have that common feeling of having gone through that transformation. I was hired to work at a circuit party in Thailand. The party was Nation, and I went there with Philip Bryan. The two of us took 30, 40 sets of flags just to give out. And they had a Sunday tea dance that we took our flags to. People had seen us flagging to that point on Saturday night and Friday night. And we took these flags and showed people how to use them by the pool and gave them away. So I like dropping seeds wherever I go. Hopefully one of them will plant, and there might be a flagging community that springs out of it. We are spreading color, we are spreading meditation, we are spreading celebration. I feel that giving back to my community is by making sure that this gay art form continues to thrive. As land in San Francisco gets ever more and more valuable, our large clubs are dwindling. And with those loss of clubs, so do we lose our space. You're seeing the same characters over and over again, And yeah, they change over the years, but they change slow enough that you know everybody, you know most of the people there. And so socially, it's an opportunity to feel that you fit in. When flagging and fanning was really emerging, it was growing up in the leather community. The leather community had a more strict father-son role, daddy-boy role. And so the master, the flagger, the fanner, would teach their boy and give them the art. And so the boy honorably would call them their flag daddy. And that term stuck. We still use that. The person that teaches you is your flag daddy, or gives you your first set of fans or flags as your fan or flag daddy. The person that gave me a set of flags could barely form a sentence and gave me a set of flags. I still call him my flag daddy, but he did nothing more than give me a set of flags. So when the circuit really started taking off in the mid-late 90s, our community was thirsty for healing. They needed to bond and connect. And if bonding and connecting meant doing copious amounts of drugs on a dance floor with 1,000, 2,000 other men, there's something nourishing being in the community and allowing yourself to just let go. And I think that they were starving for some type of meditation where they could be alone with themselves in their community and feel safe, that safe space. So here we are now flagging. We're in a zone by ourselves. Our eyes are usually not on other people when we're flagging. They're thinking about what we're doing. Our mind just gets lost, and it's healing. It's a healing art, as is poi, as is fanning. It's healing from the inside. It's allowing us to spend time with ourselves and really check in to see who we are. You know, some people have that opportunity at home, but a lot of us don't. We're constantly eyes open, and 90% of us is outside of who we are, and we're not thinking about what it is, what we can create, what we can accomplish. We're thinking about who's that? Is he interested in me? It's kind of a paradox of being in a club with 1,000 people spinning, and you're all by yourself. It's an amazing opportunity to experience who you are and heal. Every community of flaggers needs a flag maker. I've been in San Francisco teaching tie-dye since 2002, really influencing a whole generation of artists. It's quite complicated, and it's an imposing task to do if you've never done it, to figure it out by yourself. So I readily bring this to hundreds of people. All right, beautiful day for a tie-dye. Can't wait to see what the guys come up with. Get here when you get here. Here's how you make flags. You start with silk. You start bunching it, rolling it, twisting it, tying it. You add the colors. Dye, very important. It's almost wrapped up like a little chrysalis, like the silkworm that it once should be. And the important part is after you've cooked it, set the dye, opening up, it's like a butterfly emerging. Every butterfly is just a little bit different. It's an amazing process, and everybody should experience. It's one of the reasons I love to teach it.
I've never really done this, so I'm hoping to have more of a black void in the middle with a star, and then, yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna go in between. Just to make sure I'm doing it right. And put it in the oven. So I'm gonna take my flags out of the microwave. So the dye's set. And then we're gonna bring it over to the hose here. We're gonna leave it in there because it's pretty hot. Well, I expect to have some kind of a star with some rings of color. Hopefully, we'll see what happens. So we got double, wanted a star on each, but it didn't work out.
Yeah, you did. And it's still another half there.
Oh yeah. Cool.
See that?
Oh yeah. It did work. Okay. I was disappointed at first. Yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted. Kind of neat. Different. Except these guys didn't go on each corner. But
you're happy with the outcome?
I'm happy. There's no mistakes, so, you know, everyone's different like a snowflake.
The easiest fold is the spiral. It's non-stop beauty. We have fire flags. Everybody loves fire flags. The orange, yellow, a little bit of purple, fabulous. And here, the blue, very green. I love the way the blue and the yellow here. My class listened well. And on this other side over here, we have some different folds. Glad not everybody listens to every word I say. Come around. The mandala fold with the star pattern. And this was one that somebody envisioned. I helped them create it. It's always good to have an idea of what you want, and a master can help you make that happen. So, yeah. I have silk in my head. Okay, here we go.
Oh, cool.
Those are awesome.
That's like the shroud of...
That came out really cool.
They'll probably fly really cool.
Yeah, that's a beautiful...
Look at that.
The white in here that's going to give blue, which is an opposite of yellow, so it's really going to make the yellow stand out. Just like the purple is one of those opposites of yellow. It pulls out, it'll pull out the color. You can see it.
Blue and green is gorgeous too.
Not so much, but a little bit of white in there. Our water flags. Our star.
Those are kind of funky.
That came out really cool.
They'll probably fly really cool.
Yeah, that's a beautiful...
Look at that.
I wanted you to get the sharper angles in there, Dean, so you'd have more of a star.
I have it.
Cool.
All right. Here in San Francisco is another unique dance form, which is called poi. It's very similar to flagging. Many of my students, they learn flagging, they go and try poi. And vice versa. Many of the poi students from Isa Isaac's Temple of Poi, they come to flagging, to try flagging. Some of them stay. It's a unique cross-pollination that happens only in San Francisco.
I started out with poi, and generally there's a lot more movements associated with poi than flagging because there's a swivel and you don't have, the flag will wrap on itself, but the poi will not. And I found flagging through one of my students who flags, and he went from flagging to poi. And they're very similar in the movements that anything you can do with a flag you can do with a poi, but not everything that you can do with a poi you can easily do with a flag because of the swivel involved. A swivel allows the poi to actually turn in place. So with flag, because there's so much fabric, it will wrap on itself. Fire poi is performed with a tool like this. These are my actual fire poi. They are made of Kevlar. This is Kevlar and cotton wicking. And this is what they look like before they're used. Then what we'll do is we'll put an accelerant, which is basically fuel. We'll dip these into the bucket, then light it on fire and spin it. The average burn time for a set is somewhere between 3 and 5 minutes. Flow for me is the easiest way for me to get into a relaxed, peaceful, easy state and to let go of any of my stress and tension. I can let go of myself, lose my ego, and feel in divine connection with the whole world around me. And when I'm in my peak experiences, I can really feel like it's God energy moving through me, out of my body into my poi, and even out into the crowd around me. It's an amazing experience. It is my primary, I would say, really only religion.
He's from the United States of America, from Denver, Ryan Wilcox.
From here you can see the gold on the Capitol, but they're not as pretty as these golds. And these mean much, much more than what you think. These are 2 gold medals from the Gay Games for figure skating. I started this journey of my life. I started on crutches, canes, walkers at times, from just horrible, horrible neuropathy caused from HIV and AIDS. My doctor, he thinks what I did was with high impact training, retrained my legs to go around my brain and to walk again. And not even walk, but figure skate. A dream of mine was to go to the Gay Games. And I didn't know how I was going to stand on those ice skates because I'm a figure skater. But I went out there, I took the tip off of my cane, went out there and just did it and kept doing it and kept doing it. So I started training in 2007 for the Gay Games in 2010 in Cologne, Germany, and compete. I'm a low-level skater, so I thought, oh, well, you know, that's okay, and I'll just go on and do my thing with the flags. And my legs kept getting stronger and stronger with the help of Rocky Mountain Cares, which is my doctor, Dr. Ben Young. He sponsored me to go to the Gay Games. After about 6 months, I realized that the neuropathy in my legs that I needed the crutches and the walkers and all that for had been diminished. After a year, I hadn't had one episode, one attack of neuropathy. Philip Bryan is a flagger out of Dallas. He had come and done a workshop in Colorado. I'd taken that workshop, and some of my girls at the ice skating rink had seen me flag and wanted to incorporate it in the Paso Doble, which is the flagging matador. So I started out with them, Christina and Haley, and the flags fit into that really, really well. It took a little bit of thinking, but Velcro's ingenious, so a little bit of Velcro on the shoulders, and you have, voila, flags to spin.
First competition today, solo free skate, man 3. First place, Ryan Wilcox.
Because I didn't even expect to place. And yet here I am going up to the podium accepting a medal. And not only accepting it for me, but accepting it for all of my friends with HIV, all of the long-term survivors, all of the people who have shut down their lives because of HIV. It was one of the most exhilarating things I'd ever felt. I didn't go there to win anything, really. When I won is when I didn't have to walk on those walkers or canes or crutches. I could walk, and I could dance, and I could skate. That's when I won. These people would come up to me, they had someone that they loved or that they knew that they could take the story back to, and it might give them hope and faith and maybe a little nudge to get back out into life and start living again.
I'm working on the Studio 54 project. Studio 54 is actually one of the largest fundraisers the Gay and Lesbian Center has, apart from one of its most fun. The flaggers are like everybody's loyal friends. They're everywhere. We'll have a garage party and the flaggers are there. We'll have any type of party and we'll always have them there. They're like the good old reliables that you can count on. Sort of like that ex-boyfriend of yours that even though you broke up 10 years ago, you still call him for advice in the middle of the night. Those are my flaggers. When there is a flagging event, I learn my lesson, I would say, as to not create a very dizzy painting. Because you guys, the flaggers, you guys create your own designs by flagging. That I just totally get my rocks off when I see you guys doing that stuff. It's very inspirational. It brings a tear to my eye. You did it! I like the flaggers. Plus, I always thought I was going to find a flagging boyfriend because I think they're hot.
There are certain DJs that the flaggers like Robbie Leslie, Warren Clark, Randy Bettis, Jonathan Porter, Susan Morabito. I mean, these are all people that if they are spinning, the flaggers will come. It's a contagious community. It's very hard to be involved with the flaggers and fanners without them, you know, making you part of their tribe and giving you a set of flags and saying, here. Seeing a room filled with people flagging is quite an amazing experience.
In this disease, there is what they call freezing. And freezing is a condition in which you freeze, you can't move. And I had trouble with my first flagging lessons because just the fact that I was trying to do something that I normally did not do, and then being watched sort of like prevented me from doing it, and then I would freeze. It is a common symptom. I need to keep moving. I can't just sit and remain stationary. The freezing has become less acute, and I think it's mostly because I am more confident of what I'm doing. I'm not that concerned about whether I'm going to be able to do it or not. I just simply go ahead and do it. Some mornings for me are very difficult when I get up in the morning, but I don't let that stop me. I push myself and I get out of bed. I think it is very positive for me to be doing all these things that involve movements and coordination more than anything else. I'm fascinated with flagging. Something gets to me and the arms go up in the air and I spin around, and then I talk to myself and say, Franklin, that's not quite the flagging that you thought, but I said, they don't know. My mind sort of flies away. My thoughts just float away, and the more I like the music, the more I tend to follow that music.
I think it's difficult to talk about all the feelings that I have explored, that I've had, that I've revisited in my movement, because there's a part of me that really enjoys going back to some of those really sad moments and just being sad. We've got to really defend ourselves against everything in the outside world. And so we're not allowed to be soft and be tender and be sad and be vulnerable. And those are the feelings that I enjoy getting reacquainted with.
When the year 2000 came, and here I was flagging in a gay pride parade, and I thought, man, I'm 40 years old. I'm not only alive, but I'm healthy. I'm robust. I'm just eating life up and enjoying every bit, savoring every moment of it, going down Fifth Avenue with the people just screaming on the side of the streets, and just, it was an amazing experience because I felt so alive and so full of hope. And I felt in my heart that I was experiencing that gay pride for all of my friends in the 80s that I had to bury, that I saw all of them go, and that I was a survivor of a whole group of people, and that in some way I was carrying the torch for them. That I was experiencing gay pride at the birth of a new millennium for them. You know, that a part of them was in me, with me, and that we were all experiencing it through my experience. And I just felt so much appreciation. It was incredible.
People who do other forms of dance, they bring it all into flag dancing. For instance, I have a friend who does capoeira, and So he tries to do it low to the ground and throw in some interesting flips and turns within his entire body. Another friend started learning belly dancing, and lo and behold, I saw her doing flagging, and she was using her hips, and she was shimming, and it was beautiful. She was all undulating, and you could see the belly dancing in it. Or if people do hip hop or anything, it all infuses and informs what they do with flag dancing. And I love, love, love to do that.
Try it, let yourself loose, and go with the music, and in about 10 minutes, you're gonna love it.
Great exercise, great upper arm strength, especially in the shoulders.
Back in the 1890s, Loie Fuller, who was a dyke from Pittsburgh, founded a dance company and apparently couldn't get anywhere with it in the US and took it to Europe and was a huge success. And her dances were called skirt dances, and they had these costumes that had weights sewn in the hems and things, and she would do these kind of nature pageants and very celebrational of nature and insects and butterflies. She's kind of credited, from what I know, Loie is as the sort of modern godmother of flagging and fanning, because the tradition of fanning is really what flagging came from. And fanning, of course, can be traced in other cultures, particularly the Asian ones, back thousands of years.
我的名字叫 Rebecca， 我是采风舞蹈团的。
My name is Rebecca Fang. I am the choreographer and instructor of Colors of the Wind Dance Group and Asian American Cultural Exchange Academy's director of the educational department. We'd like to bring this 6,000-year-old fan dance tradition to the larger New York region. Fans were used by Chinese royalties to protect them from the sun and evolved to entertain the Chinese royalties. I was first introduced to this gay westernized fan and flag dance during the summer of 2009 by Wolfgang Busch. I was so mesmerized and inspired watching them dance that I would like to bring this version of fan and flag dancing back to China and start building an arts and cultural exchange bridge between the Chinese and American people.
The name of the dance piece is called The Red Lion, and it's inspired by the No and Kabuki theater, traditional dance out of Japan. And I started physically working on it this year, but conceptually was put together in 2008. My attraction to Asian culture was one of the main focuses why I wanted to do it. And I've always, I mean, if you could tell by looking at my apartment that I'm really attracted to Asian culture. So it was really more of an expression of who I was, honestly, because through dance, I'm presenting myself to the world, and this is basically an expression of my love of different cultures. When I first started putting the number together, I kind of felt I had all of these energies that are supporting me as I was going through the transition of creating it. And it was such a challenge for me because I knew I wanted to involve all these different elements of dancing with the mask, which is very traditional in no theater, the Japanese wig, which are very, very long and intricate, and the use of fabrics, which they do, the very trance-like movements that they do on stage, because a lot of the focus is based on the mask and the character that's portrayed in the mask, and also the use of fans. Historically, the fans and fabric have been used a lot in kabuki and no theater because they have their own voice, per se, through the movement on stage. So you're able to translate not only the character and the mask, but also different shapes of the body and the sound of the fan flick.
My partner at the time knew a woman named Candida Scott Peele, and she was kind of, I don't know if she'll like the term, but I called her the den mother of the fan dancers, and I met her through him. The first thing she said to me when she talked to me was, "You're going to be a fanner," and she was right. When I picked up fans for the first time, I didn't really enjoy it. So I started playing with everybody's fans, and I started really liking it, and then I made my own set. I'm usually just listening to the music, and I'll pick out certain things in the music that I'll just play to, like a vocal or an instrument, or maybe just a certain beat that keeps going back and forth, and that's what I kind of pick out and just play to that. We take the Chinese paper fans that you would see in a store, we rip everything off of them, clip the pin, and then decorate the hell out of them and put them all back together again, and then we play with them, and that's kind of in a nutshell, that's what we do. When I first started out, I fanned very large. In fact, I had very large fans. And then as clubs got more and more crowded and there was less and less room for us, my fans got smaller and smaller and smaller. So now I kind of think that I kind of like a very close-in fanner.
I always got tangled with the flags, and it got very frustrating. And I met someone, Larry Regal, who makes fans. And I said, "You've got to make me a set." He gave me a set, and I just found it so much easier. I used to go to the Saint quite a bit, and I always saw guys with fans. And in those days, they were stiff silver fans, and I used to get mesmerized. And then it kind of went out of style. Dance clubs went out of style. And then one day I was here and I saw George. I went up to him, I'm very shy. I said, "That is the best flagging I have ever seen. How can I learn to do that?" And he said, "I do a class, come to my class." That's how it got started. I love to dance. It's just an extension of a dancing art form for me. It reminds me of the days when I could dance all night till dawn. That's the feeling I get when I do fanning.
The Houston Flyboys have been bringing flagging together and doing it in a group. Brings it out of its solo experience and takes it to a new level. So does Mykel with his singing and flagging and fanning at the same time. George has taken flagging and segmented it and taught it as a dance. I'm really excited to see where flagging is going. I definitely think it will stay an individual form of meditation, but where other places, what people do with it and take it, I'm excited to see. The flogging is really fun, but I think it can do more, so let's see where it goes.
Blow it, blow it, come on, come on, come on, come on. Blow it, blow it, it's the queen, it's the queen, it's the queen, it's the queen. Over and over, over and over. It's the queen, sit here and I don't stop.
My specialty is flags, and I try to incorporate it with my voguing technique. I've been voguing for like 20 years. Took a while to catch on and figure out. I mean, just like anything else, when you don't have people around you that are doing something that you're interested in, it's very hard to find out or learn. The flags are an extension of my hands and my wrists. And what makes it more like voguing is my arm extensions, as opposed to movements, oops, close to the body, and just concentrating on the fans. It's like a lot of fluid arm movements. It's harder to do angular movements with the fans because you gotta constantly keep them moving. The first time I saw fanning was in the Chicago Gay Pride Parade in the late 80s, early 90s. A couple of white people from the leather community, and I was wondering how they were manipulating the fans. So I had to do some research, and I couldn't find any information. So then later on, I started seeing people using fabric, and they were flagging, and I learned that they put weights in the fabric. I am not a part of the community that flags or fans. I just know that they congregate at the circuit parties, which I don't belong to. It tends to be more of a white gay phenomenon. I just run into the occasional flagger here and there, and maybe at a yearly event like Chicago IML, International Leather Community events, and that's about the only connection I have with flaggers. My weed whacker. I just call this one weed whacker just because it looks like two blades going in the opposite direction.
The Times Square Arts Center has a lot of interesting history behind it, and I thought that it was a fabulous place to bring the new kids so that everyone can come over here in the center of Times Square with their names on the marquee and really get the props that they deserve and feel as though they are a star.
Vlogging is something that you vogue with a prop, a fan, a piece of fabric.
This is sort of like a celebration of combining two different communities, which is the flagging community and the voguing community.
Okay, everybody, welcome to Walk For Me Wednesday. Ladies and gentlemen, this is floating. Let it flow. Easy breezy and beautiful. Let it flow. Make it work. Y'all give a round of applause. Make it twirl. Twirl a little bit. Twirl up. It's a shot. One shot. One shot. Get the music. Get the music.
He's so adorable.
He's adorable.
He's adorable. He is adorable.
Make it flow. Take your time. Soft and light. Airy delight. we're going to Sponsored County. Poetry, voguing, the art of voguing.
I appreciate the voguing with the fans and the flags because it does bring back our culture and history. Sometimes we have to get back to the old way in order to understand the new way.
She's back. Oh my God, I just know what the backstab of the legendary Velvet Nanushka Kool-Aid Beverly Khan. And she's serious. What time? It's a time? What time? What's wrong? Voguing with a flag.
When I asked before.
Then bring everybody back.
So Prince, you are the last of the two, so you go first. Here we go, Prince Milan with a feminine flow. Femininity. With a feminine flow. Feminine flow. Let it go, and flow. Let it go, and flow. With a feminine flow. Feminine flow. Let it go, and flow. Oh, let it go, and flow. Oh, feminine flow. Feminine flow. Let it go, and flow. Let it go. Oh, feminine flow. Score hop, feminine flow. Score hop, feminine flow. Let it go. Ronaldo. Ronaldo. He wants to go. He wants to fuck. Ronaldo. Feminine flow. Can you get me connected? Let it go. Feminine flow. Let it go. For Ronaldo. He gets to the flow. For Ronaldo. Let it go. Oh, score his feminine flow. Score his feminine flow. Score his feminine flow. Let it flow. Oh. Work, bitch. Anybody else? You better flow, ho. Get into it. Get into the way that they move their hands and how they are serving it for you in the performance aspect. Let it flow, hoes. Let it flow, hoes. Perform for me. Let it flow. Let it swing. Let it flow. Let it run. Let it flow. Let it serve. So let it go. Get into both of the judges. They're selling it for you. The dance, the art. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Category closed. Done. What happened? Dre, give me one bonafide for 1 Ronaldo, 1 Ninja, 2 Ninja, 2 Ronaldo, 3 Ninja, 4 Ninja. Grand prize Ninja. Take it up with them.
Watching Ronaldo Milan, Prince Milan, and the Ninja, oh my God, the child, he deserved to win, and he did.
Tonight, what I enjoyed was that it's so free. Even though you're voguing, it's taking it to another level. And of course, kids have been doing that in the ball scene for many years, but it wasn't flags. It was, fans or certain types of other materials. But this is sort of like a celebration of combining two different communities, which is the flagging community and the voguing community.
It was actually fun and it was actually enjoyable. It was one of my first times doing it.
To tell you the truth, I was practicing at home and I got it at home. But today I had a little malfunction. So, one of my little scarves got tangled. But therefore, that happened. But it was fun. It was a good experience. And I would love to do it again because I would love to perfect that. I would love to perfect that type of voguing. Flogging, right? Flogging? Is it? Okay, yeah. Hi!
It's not the sort of thing that you can go and take a book off the shelf and read about it.
It's 2009, and a lot of these kids and a lot of these people have never seen that before. What is that? And we put black light on him, and you know, where did you learn this? And they thanked him, and some people gave him tips, and somebody kissed him, and a couple of old queens came over and said, "Oh my God, I haven't seen flagging in 20 years. Thank you for doing it." And a lot of them were in their 30s or their 40s, they're in their 60s or 70s, so they're not exactly out there flag dancing. I mean, I'm sure there's a nursing home somewhere where they have 3 o'clock flagging classes and stuff like that, which would be fabulous, the gay nursing home in the sky.